Hello Cancer, welcome back to the channel and welcome to your 2025 Astroclock. Here we are in a new year and I'm so excited to be doing the Astroclocks again. I decided I was going to stick with them this year again. They're quite popular and they're really unique in terms of an annual forecast. If you're new here, Cancer, welcome. I'm Leila, the Lenormand reader, and I use this amazing Lenormand deck. I have some links for you if you want to explore and master this incredible deck. So Cancer, we are doing the Astroclock, and if you're not familiar with it, the Astroclock is a big spread. It uses the whole deck, all 36 cards. So we're going to find all the cards on the table, the challenging cards, the positive cards, the neutral cards, all of it is in there. What makes your Astroclock unique is the combinations of the cards throughout the months. And as you'll see, there are 12 groups of 3 cards each. That's because the Lenormand deck is 36 cards, which divides up nicely into 12, and that's 12 months of the year. So we're going to go ahead and deal out your Astroclock and see what is in store for you this year. Are you ready? Let us deal out this Astroclock. Okay, Cancer, here is your Astroclock. As you can see, it's a pretty big spread, and I'll try to get everything in here into view. And so we have these 12 groups of 3 cards, and that's 3 cards for each month of the year. You might have noticed that I start dealing the cards at midnight, but I start reading at 1 o'clock. This is just my habit. So 1 o'clock is January, and we go around the clock clockwise all the way up to December. And before we get into the month to month, I like to get an overview of the Astroclock. I like to get a sense of where the different cards are, the positive, the challenging, etc. So this month stands out because it has the clover and star together, and it easily overcomes the mouse, which is a little bit challenging. These two are a little bit challenging, especially together, but I think the writer is going to help them move forward. We have the whip here with the fish. So this can be a bit challenging financially. And then we have the snake with this relationship and new beginning, which can be potentially a bit tricky, but it's also a good message for being cautious. And I think that's pretty much it in terms of challenges, Cancer. Normally I see 2 to 3 months of challenging cards, but for you, I think it's, the mouse is absorbed by the star. The scythe is not really challenging here. The snake is a bit challenging, possibly the fox. I'm not so sure. I don't think so. We'll get into the details. So you don't have that many challenging months. I think it's really just November here. And the rest is sort of either balanced or evened out. We have lots of positive months. We have this is April. We have July is looking good. December is lovely. Relationships, we have them in January and March, so they're kind of pretty close to each other. The dog and the garden, also close to each other. It's looking pretty even to me, Cancer. When we get into the details, we might pick out some patterns throughout the year. So let's go ahead and get into the month to month. We've got the lily, man, and mountain. So the lily is often a card of someone senior. And so it could be someone senior here, it could be someone older, it could be a boss or someone like that. And the mountain can represent a place in a different location. So maybe you are getting together with this person. Maybe you have to go somewhere to meet with this person. The mountain is also the card that represents the online world. So it can be over the internet as well. I'm suspecting here maybe you're back home or your family home. With the lily and man potentially representing your parents or your dad. That is possible. I also am suspecting maybe a health issue. Not directly a health issue, but the need to sort of relax, maybe take a step back and ease off the routine. I feel it could be coming through here. So this month in January, it is a focus on a person, and when we get into the details of the forecast, the month-to-month forecast in January, we'll dive more deeply into who this person is and if the mountain is a location and what the lily is about. Moving on to February, this is quite a month. So Cancer, this is a month for almost a total change. We have the scythe and tree, which is a combination for uprooting. And then on top of this, we have the stork, which is a card of change. It is the card of moves and changes And so there's a big change here. You are going to do things differently. You need to pick up and change. And it can point to a physical move. So it can be a house move, sorry, and it can be those sorts of physical changes. I'm wondering here, because it's in between two travel cards, we have the mountain and the ship. And we have the people cards. So it's possible that the changes here involve traveling, involve moving, involve meeting with people. In the Tower, Woman and Ship, there can be a travel back to a location, a bit like my feeling here. I felt there was like a back home or a roots or that place that you know from a previous chapter or from your upbringing or something like that. We see it here as well, because the Tower is a card of the past and the ship is also a travel card. So I think that here we are looking at travel. If you are going to travel, Cancer, I think here is looking like the time to do it. Not so much here though. The Rider is a card of movement, but I think with the Coffin and Clouds, it's telling you to avoid. And then we have the House and Anchor, which is very much about sticking around. So travels, changes, moves, I would say, Cancer, it's a good idea to do them early in the year. And maybe that's going to help you set the course for the rest of the year. Otherwise, there are, we can sort of read the triplets independently. Sometimes they build on each other in a flow, and sometimes they can be independent, and sometimes it could be both. So the Tower, Woman, and Ship can also suggest progress with the help of someone. The Tower is sometimes about official matters, and the Ship can be about trading and projects and moving forward. So there's good progress here, which also builds on the previous cards. So here you could see some forward movement. You could see maybe customers, collaborations, and things picking up with your work and your projects. So that is lovely here. The April cards are beautiful. We have the Clover and Star. They're two very bright cards. And we have the Mouse. The Mouse is a little bit challenging, but it's not dramatic, and it's easily overcome by the Clover and Star. The Mouse is really good for paying attention and for managing things while they are still small. Moving on to May, we have, like I said, the Rider between the Coffin and Clouds. So I think this is a clear advice to you, Cancer. I would avoid making too many changes, going to too many places. You might find that it's not moving forward. You might find that it's frustrating. Things are not progressing. Things are on hold. You're being held back. So I think this month can feel a bit frustrating in this regard. So instead of trying to fight it, I would say just go with the flow, Cancer, and slow down and think things through. So think about your projects, put them on hold a little bit, take stock of the the direction, the big picture, so that you're not frustrated by this. I think you could also find that projects with others don't really work out. Plans sort of don't really work out. Maybe people cancel and things like that. So again, all part of this idea that things are not really moving. So again, slow down, think things through, and don't get sucked into any frustration. It's not necessary. June is lovely. We have the House, Anchor, and Key. This is great for property investments. This is great for buying property or finding the right property. That could figure if you're doing any of these things around this time, Cancer. Otherwise, it's very much a combination that asks you to stick around, to stay put, and the key is about success. So stick with what you're doing. Don't make changes until you get to the bottom of it, because you will. So these are really good cards for success and a sense of strong foundation. So you're very much building on what you've got here. July is also lovely. We have the Flowers, Bird, and Heart, and I think this is some really good news, some really good conversations, some good feelings here between people. It could also be quite festive and busy. The Bird is a bit chattery, so sometimes it can be it can cause a bit of nervousness, but I don't think it is the case here. Instead, I think it's more about being outgoing and talking and networking and reaching out, asking questions, giving and taking. It's a really good month for getting out of your shell and just really being with others. It's also really good news. It's also positive feedback. You could also receive compliments or appreciation. So really nice words here, a good communication with others. In August, we have the cross, moon, and dog, and this is it's a bit loose as a combination. It can mean a few different things depending on context. The moon can sometimes point to an invitation or an offer, and I think it could potentially build on the previous cards where there was some interaction. The cross here might point to a decision that you need to make. And so you might think about a relationship or an offer that you're being made. Within the month, we don't really see what you decide on this, but when we do the forecast, we'll see what we get about this. In general, the moon is kind and gentle, whereas the cross can be a bit heavy. So I think there's a bit of a balance here towards this person, and you might want to think about how you move forward with this relationship. It's also possible that you're the one making an offer, Cancer. So again, if you're going to make an offer to someone, whether it's personal or professional or something else, you want to assess this a little bit. In a broader kind of sense, in a bigger way, if you like, a more overarching way, you might be assessing certain relationships in your life in this month. And I wonder if, here in July you were meeting people or being with others, or, you were expanding your outreach probably. And so in August, you could be considering or reconsidering certain relationships. That's also something we can take away from these cards. Moving on to September, we have the Garden with the Bear and Fox. This is quite an empowering triplet because the bear is a card of strength and power. It's also a card of influence. And when I see it with the Garden, I often take it to mean that you have impact on a certain environment, or you are an authority in something, or you're some kind of expert, or you have presence in an environment. And with the fox here, it can mean that that's on the job. It can also mean some kind of promotion. Now, in another sense, it can refer to someone else, and probably someone you're going to need to be tactful with. Maybe you're trying to get their support, or you're sort of trying to charm them. That's possible. Otherwise, Cancer, so apart from this, the people element and the networking with powerful people, these are great cards for a job and a promotion. The bear is a card of managers, and the fox is a card of the employee. So we see that there's a potential to step up to something here. I feel this combination is a bit serious. We have both the fox and bear, so I would say take these relationships seriously, be accountable, take your responsibilities seriously, and live up to your name, Cancer. Now, in October, we have the snake, and the snake is a tricky card, especially with relationship cards like the ring. So it is often a card of deception, and it can point to a love triangle. Now, with a child, it could be in your relationship, but certainly with the snake, you want to be careful. And I have to wonder, Cancer, if you might not be in a triangle of sorts. So just be aware that some people are not as honest as you thought they were, or they were not what you think they are. So be careful with certain relationships, and also when moving forward in something new, whether it's a relationship or maybe another commitment, tread carefully, at least at the outset. The snake is very careful. Moving on to November, we have the whip, and this is essentially the most challenging card of the spread, and we're seeing it with the fish and road. Now, with the fish, there can be expenses, there can be some financial difficulties, and with the road here, I think there's a call to change. I think you need to let go of certain paths or certain directions or certain choices that are too expensive, Cancer, at this time. And also you want to do what you need to do to resolve this. So I think here there's a certain direction or a certain investment or some kind of project that falls through, and I think it can be a bit of a wake-up call. That's my feeling. from the whip. In a more day-to-day way, there can be problems on the job or budget problems. There can be layoffs, and things like that. There can be shake-ups. The whip always shakes things up, and it seems to be connected with work, money, or business, and this sort of practical area of your life. And because of the road, which is a card of direction and forward movement, and it's also a card of choices, I think here there's a change of direction, Cancer. So it sounds like the path you're on is not has problems and could be costly, so you're better off making changes. So this could be quite a contrast to the previous month, where the previous month you were sort of feeling things out, but here you sort of have a more aggressive energy. It's possible that the 2 months build on each other. So initially you're sort of getting a sense of how things are going to be, and then with the snake you're sort of you're not so sure, and then in time or soon enough the next month you figure this is not going to work out, so you could get out of it. So this could be a job, going back to September where we suggested a job, and then even going back to August where there was an offer. You might give it a try, you might feel it out, it might seem good, good responsibilities and things like that. But honestly, from the outset, Cancer, there's like a feeling that it might not be what you want. We have the cross in August, the fox in September, the snake in October, and then the whip in November. So you might have given it a chance, you might feel it out, but then I think you'll find that it's not ideal for you, and that you're gonna make a break. I mean, that's one way to read these cards, to connect them together. Of course, they can be interpreted separately in their respective months. And then we wrap up in December with some very beautiful news here with the Sun, which is one of the brightest cards of the spread of the deck. Letter and book is also some important news that usually comes pretty quickly, but it's definitely some good news and a welcome, I would say a welcome energy following the challenges of November. Now, what the news is about, we really don't see from this triplet. The Sun is just generally very positive, and these two cards point to news, so the cards are flexible. Of course, when we get to the forecast, the month to month, we'll dive more deeply into this. So Cancer, here is your Astroclock. Like I said, all of the cards are on the table. There's all the energies, all the ups and downs, and it's about how things work together. But really, for you, it's just November that stands out as challenging. Everything else is pretty even. There's a lot of interesting things happening. For example, in the earlier months here of the year, there's this change and this relationship factor that comes in, and then we have these beautiful cards. Here it's a little bit frustrating. This is May, and then June, July looks really exciting, and then towards the end of the year there's like something happening. These 4 months here, they could be connected in terms of work or some other project that you are experimenting with or giving a try, but then I think you leave it because in November we have the whip, so it's not so bright. So it's a good thing to give it a try and to get out of it what you want, but I think you might decide that it's not so great. And like I said, you don't have to tie them together. They can be read independently. But here it's a bit more cautious. So this is August, September, October. It's a bit more cautious. It's like you're evaluating certain people, certain relationships, a certain environment. We see this with the cross and dog, the garden bear and fox, and then the snake with the ring and child. So I think these 3 months stand out, and they could be connected into the previous and later months. And I think these are the main patterns of your year, Cancer. So this is going to be interesting what happens here, and this is also really exciting in here. So let me know what you make of this, Cancer. Let me know how you resonated with this Astroclock. What are your thoughts so far? Well, I should say your vision so far for 2025, and how does this Astroclock work out for you? Let me know in the comments. And I want to say thank you, Cancer, for sticking with me this year. I hope you will continue to next year. Stick around for the monthly forecast, the weekly forecast, and other readings I'll be doing as well. Thank you for tuning in, Cancer. Very best of luck with 2025. And until next time, take very good care of yourself.